Drifters appeared out of nowhere, got us hooked on its cruel and unique setting, spoiled us with intense action scenes. Okay, that was kinda weird. Made us fall in love with the distinct art style. Proved to the world that you can make a successful isekai without resorting to the scrawny 15-year-old becomes an overpowered demigod after getting run over by vehicle trope, and then left to get some milk from the store just to never be seen again. So finish replying to your homie on Discord, relax, and let me take you back to the year 2016, where fast food was still cheap, AI stealing your job was just science fiction, and the predator tiers looked like this, not like that, and revisit one of the most unique isekai that disappeared into obscurity far too early. Drifters. Even in the most distant corners of existence, the duality of opposites is inescapable. A man with a calm gaze engulfed in light and a woman with a devious smile submerged in darkness. It's unclear what exactly these two entities represent, but it does make sense that the evil-looking one is a woman. That was sexist. But you know what's not sexist? Death, which there's a lot of, because those two forces are waging a war. The battlefield, a world resembling medieval times, filled with magic and mystical beings. The chess pieces, historical figures and leaders from different eras of humanity. The ones chosen by the man in the white corridor are called Drifters, tasked with preserving this world from destruction, aided by the Octoberist organization. The opposition, the so-called Ants, unleashed on this world to wreak havoc, led by Black King, not a Black King, the Black King, a powerful magician with a shrouded identity. Much like the king, Ants possess magical abilities, whereas Drifters do not. So to level the playing field, Drifters are granted with the power of American high schools. Wait, they can summon ghost warriors? Hold up, they have flying dragons? Hang on, the enemy is immortal? Who would have guessed that guns, which are tools designed to kill things, are good at killing things and can't actually be easily deflected like paper balls? But it's not just the premise that sets it apart from your average isekai. Those aren't just any cowboys on a high-speed chase with goblins. They're Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, the notorious authors of the Wild Bunch Gang, infamous for the bold bank robberies and train heists in 19th century America. This is not just some random dimension-induced crazy homeless person shitsoing out. This is the great Hannibal Barca, the father of strategy, whose fearless and unpredictable military tactics forced the mighty Roman Empire to its knees during the Second Punic War. No, this is not just any tomboy being racist towards Asians. It's the most famous tomboy in the world, the heroine during the 100 Years' War, the symbol of French unity and resilience, the holy maiden Jeanne d'Arc being racist towards Asians. Using established historical figures from different eras is almost like picking main characters from various anime and creating one giant crossover anime. Not only does it create a very unique and bizarre roster, but it also creates a link between our world and this fictional one. Anytime you're like, this guy looks kinda autistic, I wonder what his deal is, you can learn more about him by reading a real history book. And by a real history book, I mean Wikipedia article. And by Wikipedia article, I mean AI history slop. But for this link to work, you have to accurately portray them as they are known in history and not as some VTuber abomination. Oda Nobunaga was not a 16-year-old girl caught up in teenage love, a selfless mecha pilot who would risk his life for his friends, or a cute Shiba dog. No, he was a man known as a demon lord of the 6-7 who struck fear into the hearts of his enemies through his ingenious and cruel military tactics, to whom allies were simple additional tools to manipulate for personal gain, a figure so nefarious that his legacy indirectly led to the creation of the new Assassin's Creed game. But wait a second, if the personalities are historically accurate, why the hell is Jeanne d'Arc running around here as a racist maniac, murdering everyone with a twisted smirk on her face? Didn't I just say that she was known as a symbol of heroism? The only accurate part here seems to be her racism since she was French. This is not a slip-up or a lazy twist. The people who shaped history were often destined for an early death. But what if, right when they should have died, right when all of their regrets and mistakes flashed before their eyes, they get a second chance instead? Would it be strange, after going through such an intense experience, not to change in some way? Jeanne d'Arc put their life on the line for her countrymen, protected them, guided them to victory, and laid the foundation for prosperity for many generations to come. And yet, what did she receive in return? Betrayal and death, burned alive like a pig on a stake on baseless charges of witchcraft by the very people people she had saved. So what other choice was left for her but to accept the only hand reaching out, promising retribution at the small price of her sanity. If you still expected her not to give in, then you came to the wrong place. Drifters is not another fairy tale of heroes with unwavering convictions. It's a story of mentally deranged individuals solely driven by their own selfish desires. Any good that was achieved along the way was merely a byproduct or a tool to achieve their true selfish goals. Everybody on the internet is claiming you are fake and a fraud. They say you did all of those charity events only to grow your personal brand. They claim that beneath this happy and nice persona, you are just another schmuck who only cares about clout and money. Please, Mr. Beast, tell us, to your true fans, that it's all just a lie made up by shameless drama farmers, right? Right? Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast, please don't hurt us. We maxed out our parents' credit cards to buy all your merch just like you told us.
Don't worry, kids, I won't hurt you.
But they might. But let's be real, us sweeps aren't exactly known for being the sharpest, so it might take a minute to fully appreciate the intricacies of history-related personalities here. But what's immediately clear, even to the biggest crane enthusiasts among us, is how badass the art style is. The way the wind moves their clothes and hair, the way the glasses reflect light, the way the irises form a mesmerizing wind pattern and the exposed giant teeth when they mock their opponents, the way shadows fall onto their bodies, yet you can still see the glow of their eyes like a hungry beast hunting its prey. The way they slice through enemies and a pool of blood forms a grotesque shape around them. There's so many moments where you just wanna... Yeah, that's my new wallpaper now. Everything just oozes with dystopian raw grittiness, as strangely there's an underlining elegance to it all. And for many, this isn't the first time experiencing this. It's the same art style used in Hellsing, which isn't a coincidence, since both anime are based on the works of Kota Hirano. Even if you haven't seen Hellsing, which you really should, now. It's impossible not to come across it as a weep at some point. Whether it's the manga, the anime or the insanely popular abridged version, it's engraved into weep culture as an eerie reminder that no matter what the current trend is, there will always be an audience drawn to the unpredictability of an unorthodox story. I mean, where else will you find a dick measuring contest over who has the coolest entrance between a vampire, a priest and a werewolf, while Germans and wizards are about to beef it out who truly deserves wearing the Burger King crown. Hirano took all the things that people loved about Hellsing and passed them on to drifters to the point where they feel like different seasons of the same anime. But there is one aspect that clearly sets drifters apart from Hellsing. Watching it feels like experiencing some bizarre anime version of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. There is so much emphasis on strategy and psychology that you might actually pick up a thing or two how to survive a war, which considering that World War III is about to drop might be a useful information for some. If you have new troops with zero combat experience, what's the better choice of weapon? A sword or a spear? It's a spear because it has a simpler motion and a longer reach, but more importantly, the greater distance between you and the enemy can significantly reduce the emotional burden of taking someone's life. By that logic, a bow should be even better for beginners, but shooting an arrow accurately is not as easy as just pulling the string and closing one eye. So how do you make up for the lack of experience if you don't have enough time to train your troops? You use poop arrows. Yes, I said poop arrows. By dipping the arrows in fecal matter, you can increase the likelihood of serious infections, a real tactic utilized throughout history by various tribes. The fear of uncertainty, whether a small wound has already sealed your fate, can overwhelm even the most seasoned army. But what about those sweet guns I mentioned before? Yes, guns are way more effective than bows or spears, but where do you get more if you only brought one with you into this fantasy world? You liberate the shortest people around you and pray that they are real dwarves who can reverse engineer your more guns and not just regular men who are dwarves maxing. Okay, you have your guns now, but those are muskets. You need black powder to be able to shoot with them. Where the hell do you get black powder from? You make it yourself with the power of chemistry. Throw dead bodies into a pit, add poop, grass, urine and let it all decompose to produce salpeter. Then combine that with crispy wood and sulfur and voila, you got black powder. Does this actually work? No. Am I lying to avoid giving serial killers any new ideas? Maybe. But what really elevates this all is how naturally all the additional information are integrated. It never feels like the pacing gets interrupted just to sneak in some mundane trivia fact. Oh, you were enjoying this? This fight right here? Well, fuck you, cause now you're going to sit through a detailed explanation of what sounding is. Similarly, Drifters does a really good job of building a believable world through smaller details that other anime rarely highlight. Have you ever thought about how it doesn't make sense when the protagonist gets isekai'd and everyone conveniently understands each other? A 16th century samurai wouldn't understand an elf speaking ancient Elvish, just like a Roman from 200 BC wouldn't understand a World War II Japanese pilot. So to communicate, they have to rely on body language, find a rare magical Duolingo translation scroll, or do that awkward thing where you are fishing for common words you both understand, all while secretly thinking, please don't stab me, please don't stab me. Remember the Black King? Turns out he's got a soft spot for monsters, so he's not just building an army, he's creating an entire monster society. He gave the monsters a secure place to stay, taught them agriculture. Is that the Peppa Pig reference? Ordered Rasputin, you know, the famous crack-addict-looking Russian priest, to create a standardized language, a religion with its distinct symbol based on real ancient mythology, and even implemented a working economy with its own cryptocurrency. But my favorite thing he's done so far is when he tried to recruit a powerful dragon to his cause.
All-powerful bronze dragon, you were once a proud and noble creature, soaring through the skies, unrivaled in strength and majesty. But now, look at you, reduced to a mere shell of your former self. Join me, and together we will tear down this world and...
Nuh-uh.
Did you just nah me? Maybe you didn't hear me the first time. I said, all-powerful bronze dragon, you were once a proud and...
Nuh-uh.
You know what? Here, dragon aids.
Dragon what? And then he used the dragon like a literal bronze mine, you know, like a gold mine in Warcraft, to make armor and weapons for his army. But by no means is Drifters a flawless masterpiece. The humor lands sometimes but often feels out of place, while the art style is undeniably really cool, the quality of the animation noticeably dips at times, and it relies a little bit too much on historical context. A good chunk of the magic is lost if you have zero knowledge of history whatsoever. The biggest issue, however, is something completely different. It's the man himself, Kota Hirano. While Hirano is famous in the community as a talented mangaka, he is also infamous for his autistic tendencies, like his suspicious fascination with German history, his early works, or that one time when he created one of the most brutal depictions of English people suffering, simply because he had a bad week in Great Britain. The last one is just a rumor, but in my heart I know it's the truth. Yet the autistic trait that actually led to Drifters' demise is something much simpler. Kota Hirano is kinda lazy. Whether it's due to burnout from creating Hellsing or him just being busy with gacha games, this man takes his sweetest time releasing new material. Drifters was animated by a sub-studio specifically formed to create a faithful anime adaptation. That's why, despite all the setups and subplots that clearly indicated a much longer story, Drifters ended up with only 12 episodes. If you have no manga left to animate and the mangaka works too slow, the only thing left was to take a break. We did get 3 more episodes later, one of which can only be found in Temu camera quality, but unless you are a die-hard Drifters fan, you probably wouldn't even know they exist. Which brings us back to the present day. Drifters took the risk of deviating from the typical Isekai formula and people fell in love with it. Naturally, we wanted to see how the story would fully unfold, and when we didn't get that, it was all too easy to jump to the conclusion that Hirano is just lazy. However, in our frustration, we often forget the harsh reality that creating a great manga and anime is a rigorous, time-consuming process where financial returns sadly rarely match the effort. Technically, there are enough chapters now for a season 2, but will people still care about Drifters? Will you? My name is Akojd, thanks for watching and consider supporting me on my Patreon.